Dan, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So we shouldn't be recording the meeting at this point in time because it's before we got started. It's before the 7th hour.
I know it automatically, I think, is set to that.
Oh, okay.
But
All right. Okay, so we'll just wait for everybody to come in.
Let's see.
And Mark, we have a quorum.
Okay. Yeah, I see. There's me, there's Bill, there's Marla. But we don't have Stuart yet, right?
Correct. But we only need 3.
Okay. Okay. The chair recognizes that we've got a quorum, so I will open the meeting at 7:03 p.m. A call to order. I'll have a roll call of members present. I'll begin. Mark Parker,
William Rowinski,
Marla Butts.
and okay, so that's what we've got so far. And we have no alternates at this point in time, so we will begin the meeting. Action on minutes of the previous meeting, November 6, 2023. Let me call up my copy here.
I have one correction. This is Bill Rowinski.
Okay, what you got, Bill?
Number 7, administrative business. Under C, I believe it is. It says revising planning and zoning documents, few sentences down. And that's probably wetlands regulations.
Yeah, I tried to look that up on the YouTube and I couldn't find the actual location of the talk. I would be satisfied with just inland wetlands documents. Because that could include applications, could include regulations, could include fee structure, all that, but. So I think it's safer to be inland wetlands unless you listen to the recording.
No, I didn't listen to the recording. That's fine with me if we leave it at that.
So just replace planning and zoning with inland wetlands. And I had one requested change in item 5, pending applications. The last line before the motion, in the upland review area, semicolon, no soils will be impacted. It should say no wetland soils will be impacted.
Which one was that again?
Item 5, A, 5th line down, 2, 3, 4, 4th line down at the end where it says in the upland review area,
Yeah.
no, it should say wetland soils will be impacted. Obviously, so there'll be some soils impacted, but they're not wetlands, so.
Yep.
I move to approve the,
Well, hang on, before you make that motion.
Yep.
The chair would like to recognize that Stuart Peasley has joined the meeting. Stuart, would you state your name as member present?
Stuart Peasley.
Okay, thank you. Stuart has now been assigned one of the vacant full member positions, so he's no longer coming on as an alternate, but as a full member. Thanks, Stuart. Okay, go ahead, Marla.
so I'm moving to approve the minutes of November 6th, 2023 with 2 modifications. The addition of the word wetlands to item 5, pending applications, subparagraph A, where it says no wetland soils will be impacted, and a change on item 7, administrative business, item C, replacing the words planning and zoning with inland wetlands.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Bill Rowinski to approve the minutes as corrected in items number 5 and 7. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
Abstain from Stuart, from Stuart Peasley. Okay, very good. Motion carries. Okay. Action on minutes. Okay, we just did that. Okay, item number 4, pending applications. Application 09-23-08, 2 Bighorn Lane, Madeline Straub, reconstruction of existing lake wall.
Bill Rowinski, I looked this over and satisfied with the cross section that they've presented. Looked at the pictures of neighboring property and proposed to be similar, and it does show the wall with the water going up to the wall at the high water on the last picture. So everything appears to be proposed similar to what this one is.
So I guess I got a question, Marla's Butt speaking. So the wall that's in the picture, that was one that we'd already approved?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
It is at, let me see, I can get the address here.
167, I think.
Yeah, it's 167 Laurel Hill.
And that's the same design construction? The cross section that's shown is the same design?
Yes,
Who's speaking?
this is Madeline Straub.
Okay.
Thank you,
Is-
Madeline.
Is Tim there? He's not-
No, he is not.
Okay. Is this his drawing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. I don't have any problem with it. I think that was the only concern that we had with this application was how the wall was going to be constructed along the lake's edge. And it looks like from the photograph, you can pretty well tell where the edge of the water is now, easily enough. I'm assuming that's the large picture with the silt fence showing?
Yes.
So has grading work already begun on the property?
No.
You know, that's what when I'm looking at that picture with the silt fence, I'm trying to understand what that soil is. Disturbed
Oh,
soil.
that, yes,
Great.
behind the silt fence, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, some of the work got initiated before the approval was given then.
No, that was
No.
part of our new construction.
That's within 100 feet, 125 feet of the lake though, right?
No, it's behind the silt fence.
How far away is the silt fence from the water?
Whatever the regulations say that it needs to be, I'm not exactly sure.
125 feet.
So then, yes, it's behind 125 feet.
Okay. Just didn't look at when I'm looking at the waves, the wave action, but that's okay. I can't really tell. I'm going to move to approve application 09-23-08 to Bighorn Lane by Madeline Straub for the reconstruction of an existing lake wall as shown in the application.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Bill Rowinski to approve application 09-23-08 to Bighorn Lane, Madeline Straub, reconstruction of existing lake wall. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Okay,
Thank you, committee.
thank you, Madeline. And we have now item number 5B, application 10-23-02, Route 169, Patrick Blomberg driveway crossing.
Dan, Dan, did you say that there was additional information on this one also? Is Dan with us?
Yes, I'm with you. It's kind of difficult to run the share screen and get back to the Zoom
Okay.
platform at the same time. I can't recall offhand. Let me scroll through. I believe what else do we have on the schedule? So I believe there's one extra page in here versus what we had before.
So according to the minutes from Marla Butt speaking, from last month, it said, since this was a this application had been approved for a permit years ago, that permit expired. And since the date of that original approval, now they're proposing to include a rain garden and an open shed in an area that's not subject to the inland wetlands jurisdiction. So no change for the work that's in the agency's jurisdiction, according to what was in the minutes from last month. Is the applicant here?
The contractor is. I'm Spencer Schmelk.
Okay. So Spencer, you're familiar with the approved drawings, the drawings that were originally approved because they were resubmitted this time? They have a
Yes.
sequence of construction and a erosion and sediment control plan. So you're prepared to comply with those requirements then, I take it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I don't see any problem with approving this since it was already approved before. I don't think there's anything changed in the watershed or in the wetlands nearby. So since it was approved before, I don't see a problem with approving it again, as long as the same plans are being used and any additional work is outside of our jurisdiction.
Okay, yeah, there's no additional work in the wetland area, just that driveway crossing, and we'll follow the plan as drawn out.
Mhm. So I would move to approve application 10-23-02, Route 169, map block lot 7280-29-58A, Patrick Blumberg, for a driveway crossing.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Bill Rowinski to approve application 10-23-02, Route 169. MBL block, 7280-2958A, Patrick Blomberg driveway crossing. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, item number 5C. Application 10-23-03, 41 Hiawatha Heights, Sugata Mitra, new retaining wall along Lake Bungie. When I clicked on this link, I did not get it. Is maybe in the last month's agenda, is it correct? Let's see.
I had no problem getting it.
Yeah, oh, okay.
I got the full application, starting with a memo from
Oh.
Daniel Blanchett to Dan Malo.
Oh,
indicating
that's
he
what
couldn't
threw
be
me
there,
off. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That he couldn't be there last meeting.
Let
So
me
he's-
scroll down. Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
This is the one that had the concrete wall. There was a question about one end of the wall on the neighboring property, which would be the east side of the property. So what is the final plan for this? Because originally it was going to be stone revetment, then it's going to be wall. So it's all wall? Dan, are you Daniel Blanchett?
Dennis Blanchett is here from J&D.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi. It is going to be all wall. The concern last time, I believe, was that the work would encroach on the neighbor. So that part of the application was removed. I mean, that part of it was removed from the plan. Since then, he has gotten permission. The neighbor has written a letter to the Inland Wetlands Commission dated November 7th, granting permission to do the work on his property, hoping you have that. It was addressed directly to you guys. And so basically it's just the wall at this point.
Dan, did we get that letter? I don't see it in here. Dennis, do you have a PDF of that letter that you could screen share with us?
I do not, but I can. Janice is holding it up to the screen, and that's considered submitting. I can hold it up. Let's see.
November 7th. It's a little off. Back off a little bit so we can see what it says. Dear Commissioners. We'll back off a little more. It's not very clear. Why don't you read it to us?
Okay, it's dated November 7th, Town of Woodstock, Inland Wetlands Agency, RE proposed construction of retaining wall. Dear Commissioners, I own the adjacent property at 39 Hiawatha Drive, located to the east of the subject property at 41 Hiawatha Drive. I have reviewed the project plans from J&D Civil Engineers dated October 13, 2023. Some of the work will occur on my property. I am in support of this project and have no objections to the work being done. The owner of 41 Hiawatha shall be responsible for any restoration work the commission may require on our properties. And it's signed by Stephen Klobukowski.
Okay.
Dennis, this is Dan Malo. Can you forward me that again to my email, just in case? I don't believe I have that in our presentation.
Sure, I can.
My email is danmalo at hotmail. I'm sorry, at woodstockct.gov.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
So if I'm looking at the plan sheet that we have, it's dated October 13th, 2023, sheet 101, site plan,
Correct.
site development plan. That's the one we're working off of?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm looking at the drawing of the concrete wall, and then I'm looking at the east end, and it says existing stone revetment to be removed. And then it says proposed 3-foot wall, 30 feet long, concrete block retaining wall. And that cross section that's down below represents what that wall is going to look like.
Yes.
Okay. Is this one also had some additional modifications to the concrete retaining wall that's kind of tilting out towards the lake? I'm trying to remember if this is that application.
Yes, this is the one.
So we also had some other cross sections, Dan, I thought, on what he was going to do to the existing wall. They were going to take the trees off the top, if I recall correctly. And was there going to be any modification to that existing wall? It was going to be scabbed on the front, I think.
That's my recollection, Bill Irwinski.
Yeah.
And the neighbor's permission was primarily for runoff from the redirecting of the landscaping behind the concrete wall.
Yep, at the eastern end.
Yeah.
So Dan, this would not have everything that we had in the application. In the past, we had some additional details on the work that was going to be done on the concrete wall itself. The existing one, the one that's kind of tilting in towards the lake. Am I incorrect in that? Is that your recollection, Dan?
It looks like it's tilting away from the lake.
So I'm pulling up the previous application that we received in, I believe, August.
So the one we got in August, did we approve that or was it withdrawn and replaced with this?
It was a the portions that have come back today were rescinded from that original request.
Okay, so actually, there's actually two permits that are being issued on this property. One that
Yeah,
was
so-
back in August, and then this one is just for the additional work, for the additional extension of the wall?
The wall pictured, Daniel presented to us that they were gonna add a veneer to this
Yes,
to stabilize it.
Yep.
That portion was approved, but they withdrew this area, right? This,
the extension of the wall at the east end of the property.
yes,
So this is to cover that piece that was withdrawn from the original application that we previously approved.
correct.
Got it. Got it. So my guess is then that Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, at the east end of the northeast end of the existing wall, there's like a key that goes back into the ground. So I'm assuming that that wall will attach to that. They'll keep that key and just butt up against that to bring the wall around along the lake. That's what it looks like.
I'm not sure what you're saying about a T.
Well, there's like a 90-degree angle at the end of the wall on the
Okay.
northeast end. So that's
Yes.
going to remain. That's going to stay there. And then the new wall to the north of and east of that is going to attach to that, correct?
Yeah. That's how I would understand it, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think they would leave a gap between it.
No, so they would have a block wall attached to a concrete slab wall.
Correct.
Right. Just wanted to make sure I understood what was going on there. And so in your professional opinion, you are a PE, that this has been designed to withstand the forces that it should be expected to receive.
Yes,
Either wave action or any kind of forces that are behind the wall.
yes, that's my opinion.
Mhm.
And just for clarification, I'm looking at the picture and it looks like the wall is angled inward toward the landward side, and it's not leaning out toward the lake, it's leaning inward. That way the forces of gravity of the soil is pushing toward the bottom of the thing instead of the top so much, so.
Yeah, that's the new wall. I was originally talking about the old wall, the one that's already been approved, the fixing
Oh.
of the old concrete slab wall.
Oh, okay.
So we don't need to worry about that. This is the only thing that's being covered in this application is the new portion of the wall.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Bill, you want to do it, or Stu, you want to do it, or you want me to do the motion?
You're good, you're good.
All right, I move to approve application 10-2303, 41 Hiawatha Heights, Shugato Mitra, to construct a new retaining wall along Lake Bungay on the northeast side of his property to abut against an existing concrete slab wall.
I'll second that.
Motion's
Stuart
been
Peasley.
made by, yes, motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to approve application 10-23-03, 41 Hiawatha Heights, Sugato Mitra, new retaining wall along Lake Bungay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved.
Thank you all.
All right,
thank
thank
you.
you.
thanks, Dennis.
All right. New applications. Application, item number 6A. Application 10-23-01, 27 Loyola Road, Frank Halley. For John Napolitano, tear down and build a new house, right? Let's see.
I think you're reading from the wrong agenda.
Oh,
Last month.
oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, you're right. Thank you for the correction. Let me get back on board here. There it is. Okay, new application 6A. Okay, application 11-23-01. 0 and 204 Roseland Park Road, Austin Harmon, care of Hull Timber Harvest. Okay, so this is a timber harvest request.
So we have a couple of watercourse crossings.
There's at least wetlands crossing, there's 10, at least 10 of them. There's a couple watercourse at the top portion.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5 watercourse crossings on this. So do we have somebody here from Whole Forest Products? Do we have Mr. Harmon?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, Austin Harmon with Whole Forest Products, here to represent the proposed timber harvest for trustees of Roseland Park and Roseland Golf Course there in Woodstock, Connecticut. Yeah, so as you guys were mentioning, there are, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 total proposed stream and or drainage, aka intermittent stream crossings for the property. Some of these are for drainage, aka intermittent streams coming off of Ardvitson Road to the south, as you see just to the west of the southern landing. So south of Ardvitson Road there.
Yep.
The other landing to the very west of Ardvitson Road at the corner, that is a landing on the property of the golf course, but we are getting a temporary right-of-way agreement with Martha Beckwith, who is who is trustee, if I believe, head trustee of the Roseland Park there. Most of the crossings we have proposed have been used in past harvests by our companies, at least retaining regarding to the southern parcel here, south of Ardvitson Road. I added in a couple others just as an option, at least. I'm not saying all of these crossings will be used, but I'd rather leave them open if it's able to be done rather than limit our options. And then the piece to the north, I couldn't find much data as to if we did a harvest on that one very previously. There were areas in there that looked like they haven't been cut for a while. That would use just 2 stream crossings, which have been used in the past as well.
So you have 3 landings?
Yeah, so we have 3 landings proposed. The southeast cross landing, sorry, that was the main landing that has been used in the past. We are proposing another landing off to the west, it's kind of an overgrown field area next to a big lawn portion and such, but we wouldn't be driving over any of that lawn portion. That's to help minimize skid distance going from the back of the lot all the way to the front. And then the third landing on the north of Ardvitson Road would be at the edge of the wildflower garden that they have, not within the garden area itself, but on the edge of that manicured area they keep.
So the real concern for this timber harvest would be what could end up getting eroded down into Roseland Lake. Because there have been issues with Roseland Lake, a lot of eutrophication, a lot of sediment being transported just by the nature of the watershed. Is there any special treatments is there any, like the time of year? When do you plan on doing this harvest? How long do you think it's going to take? I know it's probably on the form, but I'm not looking at that at the moment.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so we're hoping to start the harvest sometime this winter. Ideally, this is our best shot, frozen ground conditions, to help, obviously keep soil stabilization as a concern, so we help prevent any sort of erosion and sedimentation into the streams. We're going to be using temporary bridge mats for the crossings over the streams and corduroy for the approaches to those crossings to help stop that. Seed and or hay, as well as water bars, will be implemented where needed afterwards, so any bare mineral exposed areas. And it's written in the timber sale agreement with them that we will seed and hay all of the stream crossings after harvest, but seed obviously can't be put down until next spring at this point, but we can at least put the hay down as long as there's not too much snow cover.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I know that there had, at some point, Gene Pillow had talked about doing the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District was doing something with the stream bank near the clubhouse on the golf course, and that's not too far from one of your landings. Have you been in touch with the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District at all regarding what actions they've been taking in that area?
I have not. That is the first I've heard of that, Marla.
Yeah, there was some kind of plantings plan that they did along the stream bank that down there before you got to Roseland Park Road.
Hmm.
Marla,
Yeah.
Bill Rowinski here. That landing is actually quite a ways away from where that stream issue was. All that hatched area is where the golf course is. And I believe they did a lot of plantings along the stream.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
And if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've been there. But I think that whole section of that stream is heavily rip-wrapped, protected, to slow down the flow of water, as it's going through there already, so.
Yeah, but see,
Right.
they're working in the upper watershed, so what you do in the upper watershed can have an impact as you travel down. That's
Yeah.
all I'm just saying. And I'm not saying that I'm not objecting to the timber harvest. I just want them to be aware that there were steps that were taken to try to do some work along the stream bank. And yeah, there is some riprap there, but I'm not sure what it was that the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District was attempting to do. I just remember hearing about that about 5 years ago.
Bill Rowinski, I believe they were trying to prevent runoff going so much from the golf course, the turf of the golf course directly into the stream. And
Okay.
I believe with all the plantings that they made along the sides of the stream were designed to, slow that progression of water from the turf to the stream.
And to pick up some of the nutrients before, that it might have been run off from the grassy areas before it gets into the stream. Yeah.
Well, one of those water courses is coming down the hill. It has some erosion problems. And I'm not sure whether it's the one that, neither of these come from the Arboretum. Correct?
Say that again. Sorry, Marla.
Neither of these streams drain from the Arboretum, do they?
Uh,
The Woodstock
I'm
Arboretum?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I haven't tracked the streams back to their source.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
according to
It would be the northmost one, if any.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the
yeah.
table is, kind of obscures some of that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you follow the stream that goes parallel with Ardvitson Road there.
Yep.
If you would scroll down a smidge, there you go. So if you follow it all the way to the bigger wetland area south of the western landing, the main stream itself, a little north with the cursor. There. So that stream that runs east and west, the main stream channel itself continues to the cornfields to the northwest area there. That's the main stream channel itself. The other areas are just runoff streams that come from the cornfield and the wetland areas there
Okay.
and leach into the bigger stream itself. But I have not backtracked the stream using aerial imagery, so I couldn't tell you really where it started.
That's okay. Not that familiar with that area myself, so. All right. Well, I don't see a problem with it as far as long as proper erosion and sediment controls take place. And of course, we all tend to, both Bill and I don't live too far from there, so we'll be seeing you going on. And if we see a problem, we can always get in contact with you.
Yeah, definitely. If you ever want to take a walk there as the harvest starts and commences, feel free to reach out with preferably my work cell number, which is on the notification form.
Yeah, Bill Rowinski, way down at the southern portion where the stream goes. My you're gonna do small harvest there. north of the stream. That's, my recollection is that's a very steep area there.
So on the south side of the stream is the steep area. On the north side of that stream there is fairly flat as it's level with the golf course area and just heads to the stream. On the
Okay.
south side of the stream, you're correct. It's very steep, which is why we're not harvesting it.
Yep.
Mostly for the reason of obviously protecting the stream, but also worrying about getting a crossing across that stream. It's not practical in this case.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Well, I propose that we approve application 11-23-01-0 in 204 Roseland Park Road, Austin Harmer, in care of Hull Timber Harvest for the trustees of Roseland Park as presented as a use of right.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Bill. Motion's been made by Bill Rowinski, seconded by Marla Butts to approve timber harvest application 11-23-01, 0 and 204 Roseland Park Road, Austin Harmon, care of Whole Timber Harvest. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, so moved. Okay, and item
Thank
number.
you, everyone. Have a good night.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. You're welcome. Number 6B, application 11-23-02, 978 Route 169, Eric Hansen for the Woes family timber harvest.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
My question, I believe, would be on the last page. This is Bill Rowinski. Trying to find the wording that you had. Hold on for a minute, I'm backing up. It said that the only thing you have checked off on the second page is removal of trees in the upland review area.
Yes.
Okay, you go back down to that map, now last page. So at least in the lower right corner, there appears to be an overlap of the harvest area and the wetlands.
Yep. No, you are correct there. That's the way that is the way it's mapped. Yep.
Okay, does that mean you will be harvesting in the wetlands area then?
Yeah, that area is part of the area that's being proposed for clearing.
Okay, and then might just be barely clipping it on the upper right there where the stream starts.
Yep.
Could you explain to me what a clear cut with reserves means? What is reserve?
Sure. Yep, sure. So so a clear cut typically and specifically a silvicultural clear cut is basically when all the trees in a given area above 2 inches in diameter are cut and or removed or left on the ground. The clear cut with reserves is a slight modification of that, and the reserves are basically trees of species or conditions of trees that we want to keep on site. For instance, there are a handful, excuse me, there's a handful of elms in that area, and any of the healthy elms we're going to be marking for retention. Any trees that look like they have active cavities, those are going to be retained as well. If there are some, there's almost 100% of the ash in that area are dead, but if there's any live ash, especially if it's of poor quality, we're gonna leave it as seed source and as potential future standing dead snags and coarse woody material, things like that. So the plan with a clear cut with reserves is you do your clear cut and you're not necessarily planning on going back to take those trees as you would in another kind of regeneration type treatment like a shelter would, where you do your establishment, the regeneration gets established, and then you take all or a portion of the trees that you left. Those reserves are going to stick around.
Gotcha. So the intention isn't to make new agricultural field. So it's not totally clear cut, but it's to create the potential for a future forest stand
Yeah,
of
so
selected species.
right, exactly. So the conditions right now are pretty poor in there. Most of the overstory is meaning the trees in the upper canopy are relatively poor quality, particularly in terms of the ash and the red maple. There's a lot of rot in the trees. They're of poor form, and underneath is a significant amount of invasive plants. So it's bad enough that I don't think I'll be able to get in there to mark unless or until the invasive plants are treated in the understory. A lot of rose, honeysuckle, barberry, things like this, and bittersweet. So the long-term plan is to basically start with the clearing, and then over a period of years treat the invasives, and then kind of create the conditions so that a better quality forest can emerge.
Got it.
Bill, since you pointed that out, with the overlap of the wetland area, which I did not see before, should I submit a revised application to that, or does this conversation take care of that?
From an actual legal standpoint, I don't know that I can comment on that. I will accept your recognition of that, that activity will occur in that wetlands area. And I don't know if Marla has any further opinions on that.
Well, technically it would be covered, but it looks like there's either been a beaver up there. I'm looking at aerial photography from 2016. And in that little area that's at the south end, looks like maybe some of the trees died because there was flooding. I don't know if there's been a beaver up there or if there's a dam up there on the hillside. You've walked the site, haven't you? So have you seen any beaver activity? It would be, you see on your drawing where you've got the letter L.
Yep.
If you head north of that and to the east of that, right there, where the cursor is, right there. Looks like
that little pond there.
Yeah, it looks
I
like
did not notice any beaver activity, and I was there as recently as last week, and there's no standing water in there right now.
Okay.
I think that's seasonal.
Yep.
But
okay.
that's
But if
not to
you-
say that they could not have been there in the past. I haven't seen any in there myself, and
Yeah,
nor have I
because-
seen evidence of it.
The aerial photograph that I'm looking at would have been taken in probably March or April. So when the water tables would have been fairly high, and that was in 2016. So there could have been something there that has since gone away, but I think this is covered under the timber harvest. The fact that if he's leaving some trees, there's nothing that says, while you're not supposed to clear cut, there's no definition of how large a clear cut is. It's not clear cut what a clear cut is. So doesn't say it's over an acre or a half acre of clearing all the trees, greater than 2 inches at diameter at breast height. So at this juncture, I think this should go. I don't think there's going to be a problem. I don't think it drains that wetland system. It drains to the north, and heads towards, I want to say it heads towards Gravelly Brook. before it gets to the crossing of County Road. I think it drains up in that direction. It's quite a long distance, has to go through some agricultural fields first. So I don't really see a problem with that. You're not gonna be grubbing, you're not gonna be stumping, are you?
No
Stumping
stumping. No,
so,
the stumps will stick around. We may have a forestry mower in there
Yep.
to try to get rid of the invasives, but we're not gonna go subterranean.
gotcha. That would have been the only concern. If you're not doing that, I don't see a problem with this timber harvest. And I think it would be covered, even as long as they've left a couple of trees that are a little bigger than 2 inches. It doesn't matter how far apart they are, as long as it's not the entire property. That's the way I would interpret it at this point in time, until we modify the regulations to identify how large a clear cut must be to be construed as a clear cut. Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Hmm.
This also has the potential to create some rabbit habitat that is not around too much anymore because everything's just field or it's grown up.
Yeah.
So this will be a good transitional area.
Yeah, and given the fact that there are some wettish soils and the location on the landscape between that forested wetland and the fields, it's ideal for a variety of species like the grouse and the woodcock. I haven't heard any grouse, but I'm fairly certain there's woodcock there. So that young regenerating forest in there will be really beneficial because there's not a whole lot of that around there.
Yep, I would agree. I move to approve application 11-23-02 timber harvest at Route 978, Route 169. Eric Hansen for the Woes family, as applied for.
I'll
Second by,
second.
okay, go
Stuart
ahead.
Peasley. Sorry, Bill.
Okay, motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart. Is that correct?
Yep.
Seconded by Stuart Peasley to approve timber harvest application 11-23-02, 978 Route 169, Eric Hansen for the Woes family, timber harvest. Any further discussion?
With
Yeah,
the
wasn't
rec-
this, I'm
with the
sorry,
go ahead. The recognition that there will be some harvest in the wetland area.
Okay, yep.
this
So-
wasn't the property that had the pond cleaning, the guy that came in to clean the pond?
No.
That's further up to the right.
That's to the north, right?
That's where the that blue brook
Tractor.
ends.
Yeah, okay,
The
gotcha.
Hulk, yeah.
Yeah, different property. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed, abstained, so moved. All right, thank you. Item number 7, administrative business.
Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Take care.
So Dan, do you have anything for us tonight?
If I would have known that we would have breezed through everything as quick as we did, I would have worked really hard to get that application form. I had a couple things swamp the office inquiries last week, and then the week prior, Tracy was out sick. So I was handling everybody that walked through the door. So I didn't have much time to beyond compiling all the stuff for tonight's applications, but it's still the game plan to have inspection to be reported back to you guys for the January meeting. And I don't know if Marla wants the commission to hold off on the application till the regs are worked on, or were we there?
No, I think the application forms for Woodstock can be worked on, but understanding that when if we do a major rewrite on the regulations, we might want to have some things changed in the application form. Question, do the regulations say, refer to a specific title for the application form? I'd have to pull it up on the electronic version. Is the fastest way for me to do that. Because I know in Thompson, their regulations actually specified a name of an application form. And I didn't know if Woodstock's, I've never really looked at it in that detail. So let me just do a quick search to see if it references an application form. Go ahead while I'm searching.
We also, Stu has been appointed as a full member. Mark brought that up really quick. That leaves us with 2 alternate vacancies. Or I'm sorry, no, that's 3. Our bylaws hold for 7 members on the commission altogether, 4 regular and 3 alternate. It's one of my goals for the end of the year is to get work with human resources to try another blurb to attract attention to joining our commission. I was approached by Maura Roby, who's on our Conservation Commission, and she also works with the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District. She was interested in having the commission discuss a town dirt road runoff policy. She's presented some pictures to me, which I'll be sharing at the next meeting, kind of showing some erosion issues on some town roads, dirt roads. And we don't really have any instructions or guidance for our Public Works Department, and as far as I can tell, but that was an interest of hers, that she wanted me to convey the importance of coming up with something like that for Woodstock.
So, since Dan, I don't mean to interrupt you, but yes, I do interrupt you. Why don't you invite her to the next meeting and have her describe what she thinks would be the best management practices? And so that we're not generating something that doesn't have a need. I want to make sure that whatever it is that's her concern is identified clearly, and having it pass through you is not really the best way. She should, and it could go on.
Absolutely. I am bad at telephone game. I think she'd be able to articulate the importance of that kind of policy better than I could.
So that could be an item under administrative business.
Okay.
And I've finished looking at the regulations, and there is no specific title to the application. It just says in section 7.1 that they have to apply for a permit on a form provided by the agency. And then it says what the application shall contain, information described in this section, and any other information the agency may require, and that the forms are available in the offices of the Woodstock Town Clerk or the agency. So there is no specific title, so the commission could change it when it wants to, without having to go through a regulation change or anything like that.
Yep.
So you can move forward with a better application. No need to wait for the regulations.
Okay, I'll have that ready for you guys to review even before the meeting. I'll send it around where we were at, and look at the minutes of when we last discussed this to make any of those minor topical changes that were proposed.
Yeah, when you're doing that, Dan, just double check what the requirements are in section 7. It lists them out one after another. I think it goes all the way up to 7 dash. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of them. 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, 7.9. Yeah, 7.9. So you just want to make sure that all the items that are on the form are as required by the regulation, that you don't miss anything.
Okay. So the position was posted. They have a deadline for applicants December 18th. I still haven't submitted my formal resignation. I've offered to stick with it until they've filled the position, which hopefully they do in short order. I really don't want to be hit the rush in both towns at the same time. But I can do a couple months beyond January if need be.
So do you know if they've contacted like the University of Connecticut's School of Agriculture? I think they have conservation classes or conservation curricula in there. That would be, I know I took aerial photography from out of the School of Agriculture, and I think soils were also in there, or that could have been in the School of Engineering. Possibly getting that notice over to the university,
Sure.
some contact there might help to find at least somebody who can go through, has enough college education to be able to pass the certification requirement, and it might have some education skills that might be of value. Don't know. I'm just wondering whether or not that might be a way to look.
I'll broach that with Crystal. I know the couple of courses that I took, one such as water resources management, I mean, plays right into this. There's no program kind of to create land use officers, but there are plenty of courses that are pertinent, that are taught at the university that we could try to find new blood through that. And I think that would be a great situation to bring somebody into the field.
Mhm.
I
And a
think,
college student may
yeah.
not be looking, they may still be living at home and looking for, might not be as required to have a full-time job, because that's
Sure.
going to be the problem.
The position was posted with the potential to be a full-time position combined with the zoning functions for the right candidate. But as it's listed, it's two separate positions, one 10-hour a week for inland wetlands, and I believe it's 18 for the planning and zoning services. So it's quite a stretch to add another 4 hours and then benefits on top of that. So I don't know if Jay has any thoughts about the position, or if it's just wait and see who we get to apply, and if it's the right person and situation, and we make it work.
Well, we have the budget season coming up in another month or two. And so maybe we should sit and have on the agenda to discuss what the needs of the commission are, what the staffing needs are, and maybe give some advice to the Board of Selectmen regarding that. We tried to do that a couple of years ago when Tina LaJoy was still here. I even attended the Board of Finance meetings and was unsuccessful with convincing them that they needed to provide greater support for it. So maybe that should be another item on the agenda to discuss what do we think is the real need for staffing in the wetlands office. And it might include a clerk that might do jobs for both commissions, planning and zoning and inland wetlands, but not necessarily the same person covering the enforcement responsibilities.
In answer to Dan's question, it's Jay. We had advertised both positions, but as he insinuated, the right person could handle both with the right certifications, or their intention to go for certifications. And we were looking at the possibility of offering full-time with benefits. So again, the ads were out there, and I can't speak for Crystal. I don't know what we've gotten for responses, but that was our intention. We could go with 2 part-time or 1 full-time with benefits for the right person,
Mhm.
or the person that has intentions of going for certification.
That's good to hear.
I would also suggest that you get in touch with UConn's Agriculture, Health, Natural Resources, the Center for Land Use Education and Research. David Dixon, Michael Deitz, they're all faculty and staff of that, and they do training for a lot of inland wetlands related stuff. So they might have a list of graduates or people that are interested, qualified. So anyway, that would be another UConn Ag program that I would suggest you put it out there, that Woodstock is looking for someone. So
Or at least they could post the job announcement.
they could post a job announcement, right? And
So we did get good coverage. I'd asked Crystal to post this with Cackwick, and it's been posted on Cackwick's site and Connecticut CLCC, Connecticut Land Conservation Council.
Yep.
Their job listings too. So a lot of times these types of positions don't make it into those listings, but I think that's where the people in the field, those websites are prominent, and it'll catch attention more than it would on, like, say, Indeed, or it's actually reaching straight to the trade.
The problem with I think the problem with the trade is that people that are already in there are looking for higher level positions, are getting more full-time positions. They're not looking to downsize unless they're a retiree. And that's a possibility. There might be people who want to downsize, but the other option is URI, University of Rhode Island. I don't know. I know they have a soil science curriculum there. They've had some pretty good people coming out of there. And there's also UMass. But UMass is a little far away. But Rhode Island is not. That's in, URI is in Providence, I believe. That's not that far.
Yeah, I'll talk with Crystal tomorrow about these. Doesn't hurt.
Nope, doesn't
Unless
hurt.
it costs a lot of money. And so I have a meeting with Mr. Grenier tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I think it's to discuss, he wants to get official approval for his berm. We only gave him approval for the grading in the wetlands in the field. But he wants to button up his everything he thinks he needs to do with his property, and that includes getting the commission's after the fact approval for the berm. He hasn't been able to sit down and draft what we had asked him to regarding the septic and other questions he had regarding building approvals in the past. And I think that's going to come at a not an immediate pace. I think he's realized that there's a challenge in putting all that information together. But I'll meet with him tomorrow and see where he's at. But I think he'd like to get a wetlands agent approval type of application on the agenda for the next meeting regarding the berm. I'm also going to reach out to Mr. Bentley tomorrow. I've kind of left that lingering, but I know he was having difficulty getting really much feedback from deep dam safety. But I will reach out to him and have a discussion with him. And I want to invite him to our next meeting to kind of give us an update on his intentions and progress with deep.
Is there a time limit on that? What's the protocol for that?
So
Well,
there's no
go ahead, Dan.
there was no application that was tabled, if I recall correctly, right, Marla?
It was withdrawn. So the problem is DEP gonna regulate that as a dam subject to their jurisdiction? And that was the answer that they needed to provide. That DEP, if DEP said, no, it's not subject to their jurisdiction, then it falls within the Wetlands Commission's responsibilities for the dam itself. But if they are gonna regulate the dam, they only regulate the dam. They don't regulate any other activities that might have occurred upslope. So Dan, I guess the question that I have is, has he shared exactly who he attempted to talk to, or correspondence that he sent to them, any emails he sent to them and got no response?
Yes, there was correspondence with these. He did reach out to them, and he did provide correspondence. I don't. Maybe I can access it from my email if you guys want to discuss any other matters of the commission.
Are
but
you talking
it's-
about this dam that over by Lake Bungie, that
Yeah.
place? Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and
Well-
remember Karl Akamovic said that he thought it should be subject to DEEP's jurisdiction based upon its potential to fail, causing a threat to life or property. And it's not saying it would cause a loss of life or property. It said it might. And that would be Class B or Class BB. I sent it to Anna Laskin, huh? Oh, so he's got to hire an engineer. And he needs to register it. So has he filed a registration? The ball is in his court.
Okay.
He's got to file a registration for the dam. And he's also got to hire a professional engineer to check on the integrity of it. And give a report to them. I didn't know they had to use somebody from the DAS contract list. Wow.
Oh,
Could you forward that email to the rest of us so we can take a look at it?
Sure.
And see what he had attached? She's got,
is there an attachment on that one?
yeah, there's two of them. There's recon retaining wall, and then there's a blank dam registration form.
Yeah, it should be on its way to everyone.
I don't want to comment any further on it until I have a chance to take a look at it.
But yeah, I want to get that folder off my desk and wrap this up. It was something I inherited, and I just want to put some of these to bed. And he's been easy to work with, but he said it himself. We stopped bothering him, and he time flies, but I think he is willing to work with us. Frustrated that he's got to probably go as far as he might have to, but he's been accommodating to the couple site visits I've had, and I think he just wants to get it cleared and have all his paperwork in order on it. But I will be happy to also reference that email from August 8th from Anna Laskin as his next steps.
I got the email. Well, I think the critical thing in my thinking is that you know, it'd be one thing if there weren't properties subject to the overflow and potential damage from that. That to me is the biggest concern. There's two or three different residences below that, I think.
And a private road.
Yeah. But
Anything else, Dan?
it just goes to the nature of how it was constructed, and you know, giving them some peace of mind as to whether it would hold up in a serious weather event. I don't know.
Well, we already have evidence from Karl Akamovic, who is a professional engineer who deals with a lot of dams, and he said that it's not safe in his opinion.
Yeah.
And in his opinion, it should be subject to DEP's jurisdiction. But he was hired by not Mr. Bentley. He was hired by somebody else. And so he's got to get his own engineer to give the information to DEP. Can't use, if he uses Karl Akamovic's information, they're going to come back and say, you got to get it, you know, you got to get an engineer's report and get a formal, right, evaluation of it done.
So he would then, in that case, he would have to get, we wouldn't be involved, the IWWA wouldn't be involved. It would be through the state, and they would manage the process.
No, the state has to declare its jurisdiction, that it's not a Class A dam, that it's a dam that's subject to their regulation. So right now, they haven't made that determination. They haven't said that it's a Class B, a Class BB, or a Class C dam. C is a high hazard, B is a moderate hazard, BB is also a moderate hazard. Class A is a low hazard, which means there wouldn't be a real threat to life or property damage. And they have to make that decision. We can't make it for them. So push comes to shove. I mean, we could assume that it's not under their jurisdiction, but Karl Akamovic said, in his opinion, as a professional engineer, who deals with dams all the time, that it is subject to their jurisdiction. So we're kind of a little stymied right now. And if any damage ever comes out, you know, if we get a major flood and somebody's property gets damaged, he's going to be on the hook potentially the liability for that damage, because there's already been an engineer who's looked at it, professional engineer who's looked at it and said there's problems there.
Did he assign the risk BB or something? Did he?
No, it's done by DEP. DEP
Okay.
assigns the risk. He's just saying, based on his professional experience, based upon what damage that could cause if it were to fail, that it should be subject to their jurisdiction. But he's not the one making that can make that call. It has to be the DEP's dam safety staff that make that call. So Mr. Bentley's got a liability hanging out there. If a major storm comes and those people's properties get damaged, they could turn around and sue him.
Hmm. That's a motivator.
Mm-hmm.
So other projects that I'm trying to wrap up by the end of the year, administration of my 3 file cabinet drawers. I've gotten through. Now I only have a permit record in a sense of what I've been working on since I started here. I have very select few permits from the last few years, and it looked like anything that was still active was kept. But I've tidied up my permit files, and I'm tidying up my permit subject file drawer. I'm sorry, my administrative / subject file drawer, to make sure I've got every copy of regs that I want from the past, and that my minutes and agendas are updated in my books. There's general office administration stuff. Would the commission like bylaw revisions to come up on the next agenda? I
think
know,
that's required to be in February during our meeting. We have to review those. Hold on, I'll look to see. Unless somebody's got the bylaws hanging around. Get up. Where are you, bylaws?
I wish there was something in the bylaws that we could add that says Dan has to stay.
I was telling Marla today, I like it. But Jay said it good one time. I said, I'm finding my footing here. And I said, I'm finding my footing in Thompson too. And he says, well, what happens when the boat leaves the dock?
You fall into the water. All right, so February, okay. Election of officers occurs on the February meeting, which is the annual organizing meeting. And that's the time when the bylaws are reviewed and made part of the minutes of that meeting. So that's in the regulation. So we don't do that till February.
I'll make a note of that for continuity purposes. If I'm not the one delivering that agenda to you guys, then my successor will be instructed that that's February procedure.
I'd like to come back to, I addressed some of my concerns about the 399 Roseland Park Road. We at our October meeting, we approved application 09-23-06 for the creation of the swale, the grading, et cetera, et cetera. So in my mind, that's a done deal. And if he wants to do more work now, then it's my opinion that he should put in another application and not trying to modify an already approved application. But Marla, you know the regulations as well as I do. Do you know of any situations where, we've gone back and modified a previously approved modification, application?
No, so what you gave him was a use permitted as of right under agriculture.
Yep.
And the activities that were being proposed were to improve the capability of the agricultural field. The berm is something different. That's not an agricultural activity.
Right.
So it's not the same. And once use is permitted as of right, non-regulated uses are granted, there is no expiration date for those. You don't modify those. They have to apply for whatever else they want to do, anything new.
This will be a fresh permit.
A fresh application of some sort.
Correct.
Whether or not it's for for wetlands agent approval or a use permitted as of right, maintenance, enjoyment of residential home. Those kinds of things are allowed. Some can be allowed as long as, you look at what the potential impacts are. So there's options that are here, but right now what's before the commission is nothing right now.
Correct.
And so the commission at this juncture has not taken any action on the berm. It hasn't while there was a notice that was sent out originally under Ashley Stevens for the digging of the hole, which was what he called a detention pond, and the soil that he used partly to create the berm along the house. The commission hasn't pursued the berm along the house. So whether or not, we choose to pursue something at this juncture, it looks like, based upon what I'm seeing in all the meetings, is that there has been no action taken on the berm, either to require him to come in with an approval or not. The commission can use its prosecutorial discretion not to choose to pursue that if it doesn't want to. At this juncture, that work appears to have occurred in the upland review area. It's not clear to me exactly where the wetlands boundary line was, because when you looked at the map that was done for the agricultural lot, they did not flag the entire wetlands around the house. They started the wetlands flagging along Roseland Park Road and then continued to the south. So I don't know how Killingly Engineering put in any flagging, how they determined where the wetlands boundary was around the Spalding house. Regardless, that was accepted. And that's what's on the land records right now. And we don't have a soil scientist on hire to dispute what's on that drawing at this time. And that drawing said that it was done by a qualified soil scientist. One thing I would suggest, however, is whenever we get applications that have a soil scientist delineating wetlands, that the soil scientist should be signing on to that site plan. Or there should be a letter that references that site plan that says these accurately depict his delineations. The other thing I noticed with the wetlands delineation is that while there was flagging, typically the surveyor marks some of the flags down, but not all of them. And usually they leave dots where other flags are. So like you might have flag 1, and then you'll see a dot, flag 5, flag 10. So you know that all the flags got picked up. That drawing does not have those. So the issues about where the wetlands are, where they're flagged, those have to go back to Killingly Engineering. And I don't think the commission has to go back and reinvent the wheel at this juncture. So regarding the berm, it's up to the commission to decide whether they want to pursue that matter as to have it removed. And the question is why? What effect is it having if it's not in the wetlands? And you were out there, Stu. You didn't think it was in the wetlands, correct?
No,
Where the berm was?
no,
Dan, you were out there. You saw the original mapping. You didn't think that berm was in the wetlands, did you?
No.
So that would be that it's in the upland review area. So the question then becomes, if it's in the upland review area, do you want to pursue it as an enforcement action, or do you just want to say, we're done with this? Because what's the effect of an upland review area? You're looking for impacts to the wetlands, not what did you do in the upland review area that affected the upland review area. You're looking at what effect did it have on the wetlands. Now it's after the fact, it's been over a year. So the question is it worthwhile to pursue anything on that berm? As long as he doesn't do any more on that berm. If he wants to enlarge it, wants to add more material to it, he's got to come back in. But I wouldn't recommend pursuing anything on that berm at this time, since both Stu and Dan think it was not actually in the wetlands itself. Does that answer your question?
Yep. So, yeah, so, that's in my mind, I would not want to pursue forcing him to remove it or anything. I'm just saying it's, that we're done, it's done, it's in the upland review area. If he wants to do more, then in my opinion, he should come in with an application.
Correct.
I
And
think,
then
I
he
think
would
that's his plan.
then it would be coming in to seek approval for everything, not just what he wants to do in addition, but what he also did in the past. If he wants to add on to that berm, meaning look at it as though it's a whole thing. But I don't think he should have to remove it at this point in time. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah,
To pursue, we don't have the resources to pursue that at this point in time.
correct. Right. If he wants to do more, then it's up to him to hire the engineers and, or whatever, draw it all up and put in the application. I don't think it's the commission or a wetlands agent's responsibility for helping him to draw it up.
That would be correct, because then we could be co-opted.
Right.
I think that the only thing that we should consider is that the time that I went out there and looked at it, and then looked at some of the engineering maps that were done with some of the previous applications, there just are question marks or discrepancies, whatever you want to call them, that are hopefully could be resolved in a least obtrusive way possible. But he seems pretty adamant, and rightfully so. I can see from his position, he wants to protect his property. And there's just, like I say, some of the question marks that are left open need to be addressed, and he's really got no other way to do it except to go through the wetlands agency to try to straighten it out. From my understanding of what needs to be addressed.
Well, what I'm hearing from your site visit, Stuart, and from what Marla just shared is, and your and Dan's opinion is that it's not, you know, we're satisfied with your site visits that it's not in the wetland, it's in the upland review area. So couldn't we just have him state that in his application? Or I don't know, I'm just, you know, if he's trying to save money, you know, I
don't understand. The question is really about the previous delineation of the wetland and
So the answer is he hires a soil scientist to go out and flag the wetlands, get it put on a map so it gets it clearly identified.
correct.
There's a question about where it is around the house. It's not the job of the Inland Wetlands Commission. We don't have the money to hire a soil scientist
Right,
to go do a
right.
delineation. And that's part of the problem with the enforcement. We do not know exactly where that wetlands boundary was. It shows on a map, which you
Right.
guys say the berm is outside of the wetlands. That's shown on the map. You have some questions about that delineation, but we don't have the resources to be able to verify whether that delineation on that map was correct or not. It
Right.
appears to be correct to me only based on the vegetation that I'm seeing, and what I've seen on aerial photography. I don't think that it was really that far off, if it was off at all. But he can have a different opinion, and that's when he should hire a soil scientist to look at it and see what their opinion is. He could even contact Joe Thoreau himself, who was the original soil scientist who did the delineation for Killingly Engineering, and
Right.
ask him to look at, tell him, you know, why did you start your flag here? Why didn't you, how did these get delineated? Why did you find that acceptable? Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was never shown that map, the Killingly Engineering map. I don't know. These are all issues that he has to straighten out. We can't straighten it out for him.
Right.
So for purposes of if he were to present an application for work in the upland review, I think that the town has received this delineation in the past, that this delineation would be valid to present with his application for work in the upland review.
Correct. But his problem is going to be is proposed versus existing contours. Because we don't have all the contours for that property. We have a line that shows where the wetlands is, but we don't have a line that shows what the contours are, what the elevations are. So if he wants to fill up around to create the berm higher, he's going to have some existing contours and some proposed contours.
Proposed contours, right?
And that's required by the regulations, I believe.
Right.
And that's why he would need to have somebody to shoot the grades for him. We have 2-foot LiDAR, but that's not real precise. But that could have been used. But I haven't seen any maps from him that show that.
But otherwise, if he does not intend to add or improve this berm any further, the berm as it stands is a non-issue for the commission.
I'm not willing to pursue anything on that at this point in time.
Okay.
I
There's
agree.
no, Bill?
I'll let him know. Sorry, Bill.
I didn't bring it up, but I have an issue if he did do more work in the berm, is he's also going to create a reservoir behind it. So, and how's he going to drain that reservoir? Or if the berm gets overtopped, how's he going to let the water out? That's basically my issues with that. Otherwise, just letting it sit as it is fine for now. I'm not sure I'm answering the exact question, right?
Yes, you did. You
okay.
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And Stu, how you feel about just letting it sit as it stands for now, unless he wants to do additional work?
Yeah, I think that he's probably just got to due diligence and make a presentation based on the facts, what's there, try to answer some of these hanging chads, that are floating around. But, one of the discrepancies that I mentioned is on the engineer's map, the leach field follows the wetlands. And that's a question mark that the soil scientists might be able to answer.
Or it should be the health department that answers that, because
Right.
they're the ones that authorize that leach field.
Right. And from what I,
Theoretically, unless it was constructed without authorization.
No, it was constructed with authorization, but the drawing shows the wetlands which follows the leach field. In other words, there's a rectangular delineation on the wetlands delineation, which happens to be parallel with the leach field, which I found.
Are you referring to the agricultural subdivision map?
I don't know which map it was. All I saw was
Yep.
that the delineation was parallel with a perpendicular arrangement. So I thought that was odd. Just needs
well,
to be.
if in my view, if there's no problem right now with the function of the system, and there's no problem with the function of the surrounding wetlands, then just let it ride. It's, we don't need to, just because it's administratively, a half a foot away from the wetland line, I'm not gonna.
No, I get it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why fix it?
Right,
But
right, exactly.
the problem is that he's got that, this is where it crosses over into the building department.
Actually, I took a look at the building office files and I found a letter. Now, at the time that the agricultural subdivision was coming through, there was a letter from July 23rd, 2018, signed by Maureen Marcoux, the sanitarian, to Eva Spalding regarding the subdivision. And it was an approval granted under section 19-13 B100A of the Public Health Code. So the health department does not allow septic systems in wetlands. They don't allow septic systems on filled wetlands. So the fact that they had to have at some point in time had done testing, soil testing, that kind of thing, and there was some done when the house was originally built, and there were some recommendations made at that time back in 1988. I don't know what the health department did with respect to the actual construction of that septic system, but that subdivision was reviewed by the health department and signed off on by Maureen Marcoux, who is the NDDH, Northeast District Department of Health, licensed sanitarian. So she must have felt at that time that that delineation was accurate to some extent, because she was saying that that subdivision was approvable. So I don't know, what may have an appearance to you that she may have different information. She may have additional information from when the house was originally built. Then there was something that occurred back in 2002 when the house was expanded. So a lot of this information that you may have seen, what you might have been shown, might have actually been from the health department files, but we don't have all those files. We only have little bits and pieces from the health department. Who knows what all the additional information is there? But it's not our job to research that. We've offered to Mr. Grenier the opportunity to put into writing what his concerns actually were, so that we could figure out if we had any responsibility or could conduct an investigation from our standpoint, from the wetland standpoint, and he hasn't supplied that yet. So I don't see pursuing this issue of the septic system any further at this juncture. And he can pursue it, but I don't think we should be.
No, I'm not saying we should. I think, it's been discussed, and the onus of sharing and putting the light on what the issues are is on him. And if he chooses to, then he can make that his own project. But yeah, I don't think we have to be concerned about it. If he, though, it was brought up at the last meeting, I think Mark or somebody said if he files a new application, then it won't be discussed. Everything done in the past is in the past. We don't discuss it from there. But if he files a new application, then it could be brought up at that time. So that's the only reason that I think we don't have to prepare, but we should anticipate that this discussion would come back again. And so anticipation is a key in almost any endeavor. You've got to think about what could be happening and how we're going to respond to it. As I say, for me, I think that in my experience and what I see with different municipalities and different agencies within them, regulations have changed, and they change continuously. So it's all about interpretation, and what we have to do as an agency is to make sure that what we're doing now is a template for future agencies to build on. Whereas what we're encountering with this situation is that we see previous agencies and some of their shortcomings, and we have to deal with it. So what I think we can learn from this is how to make it good for the future. I mean, I'm sounding a little bit abstract, I guess, but I think that's the objective: is how can we make improvements with our regulations and our procedures.
Right, and we've come out, and you've been working on those projects for us, Stuart. Really appreciate, those, procedure sheets, and, so that we can walk applicants through, and, it's, yeah. So, yeah, we're doing it, yeah.
It's a complicated world, and it appears to be getting more complicated. So we just got to keep our cool and try to do the right thing. I mean, we've got to follow the regulations, as Bill aptly put, but I think we also have to, we've got our own North Arrow to follow inside.
Yeah.
Ethically, we try to balance between ethics and regulations. Regulations are, the rule of law, but we also have to sleep at night and feel good about what we're doing. And I think that's important. So, it's been in the past, and you see it in time and time again, where I could go on about this, but and it's in my profession, I see it all the time. It's the issue is about regulations, and with more and more regulation. Well, case in point, I'm sorry to digress, but I have to work with the International Building Code, which changes every 3 years. Every 3 years, I have to buy $500 worth of books so that I can read them, so that when I make a design, it's upheld by the builder and the owner. They don't care about that. They really don't. And when I read the new code as compared with what I was reading 30 years ago, I don't understand it. 30 years ago, they were written by architects and engineers. Now they're written by lawyers. It's really frustrating for everyone. It's hard to process. So I think that, that if I can convey any of that experience so that it's something we can learn from and grow from and do a better job at, that's about it. But our regulations change every 10 years?
No,
Not even.
the regulations change whenever we change them, and
But
they haven't.
the state regulations are,
Yeah,
The state law has, the Public Acts sometimes change the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Act every couple of years. There's some little
Yeah,
tweak
yeah.
here and there. And then
Right.
that gets trickled down into the regulations. And that's one of the reasons why we have to go through and review the regulations to see what changes have to go in
well, I'm
from
glad
the
we had,
statutory changes.
I'm glad we had a chance to talk about this. I
Yeah.
think that, if we have some kind of principles beside the regulations and just make sure that we're trying to do the right thing. The old Spike Lee movie. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
So on our website, we've got a resources section, Stuart, and there's a fact sheet that the Center, the Land Use Academy, the Center for Land Use Education and Research put out and so we've posted it. And in that is a pretty succinct thing on, how the DEP is involved, with doing the statewide regulation changes. And then there's a section that explains what the powers and duties of the local commission are. And, and one of that is to establish, change, or repeal inland wetlands regulations at the local level. Two, to hear, consider, and decide upon petitions for changes in the inland wetlands regulations. So, this touches on what you were talking about, that we need to be changing things for the future. So, if we learn something from what happened in the past, then we can make changes in our regulations or whatever. We're also responsible to hear, consider, and decide upon applications for regulated activities, to enforce the current wetlands regulations, but also to hear appeals from any decision of its duly authorized agent. So, those are the things, and there's a time and a process to do that. But once something's been done, 10, 15 years ago, yeah, it's good to kind of look back and see, but hopefully we have since addressed that, and we now require in our new applications, that people have to submit certain amount of information, and with clear delineations, et cetera, and so that forces the new people, with the new regulations changes and updates, to do that. So
Yeah. It's no fun when something like this pops up, but we learn from it and we try to do better. That's all.
yeah,
And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's all. Try to do the best we can with it, but I think that from what I can gather from the time that I went out to discuss with him, Mr. Grenier is more concerned about, a weather event that's going to cause flooding. And so that's his major concern. He's had difficulties there, and he just wants to try to resolve them.
But he's got to come up with the plan and present it. But one thing, I appreciate your comment about, well, we've got to anticipate a little bit if that something may come up about, for example, the septic, the leach field or whatever. But Bill has also expressed a concern about, well, if he does come up with putting an entire berm all the way around, is he going to show us where he's going to have an outlet? Because it could create an impoundment.
No, in answer to that, I think it could. The berm would diminish towards Roseland Park Road, so that would be the outlet.
Yeah,
but the way he described it when we were out there, I didn't see it being like a pool.
And and in my mind, if the system is currently working fine and the wetlands isn't being adversely impacted, then we don't need to be approving a berm to put around it, because the berm isn't going to protect it any more or less from a short-term event. It'll recover just like it always has.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's see what he comes up with.
Yeah, yeah.
There was something else I was gonna ask. It'll come back to me.
Sure, sure. So I guess, Dan, if you are meeting with him, just, in some tactful way, just, encourage him that, we're not forcing him to make any additional changes. We're good with what's been done so far. We're gonna just let it go. But if he does want to do more, that's entirely up to him, and he would need to put in the application for the additional work.
I will likely advise him that if he's not doing anything to it anytime soon,
Yeah,
then there's no purpose in going through a theoretical exercise.
right.
I mean, he hasn't had his equipment all year, and he doesn't really know when he's going to get it. So the work isn't going to be done anytime soon.
Right.
I think he's a bit concerned that he has this outstanding matter that he didn't get a permit for. But like as was mentioned, there's prosecutorial discretion, and it's not adversely affecting the wetlands,
Right.
and there's no sense in chasing him for the paper.
Right.
I think he's gonna. I think from when this started, I think the outcome is good. He's got a way to remediate the possible water problem, and if he could add on to it and door him up around the house and protect his house, that would be fine. But the main thing that caused the problem was he did work without a permit, and that got resolved. But I think it also clarified the solution. That was the problem. It identified the problem, which would sort of identified more problems that we're talking about now. But the main thing is that we found a way to get this so it'll drain.
And that was work in the wetlands.
That was a tough little problem.
Yeah.
Tough little problem, and so it worked out. So we should be all looking at that as an accomplishment that we were able to work together and pull that off. So
yep.
Pat yourselves on the back.
Yep.
That was good. It's a can of worms, and sometimes it's not easy to deal with those kind of things. But because of the time and the regulation process and people involved sometimes mess up, and we got to straighten it out. That's all. It's not impossible.
Would letter for the file make any sense regarding the commission's how the commission sees the existing berm as a non-issue, or that they're not?
Yeah, I think so.
That should show up also in the minutes, though.
Yeah.
That the
Okay.
commission has agreed not to pursue any action regarding the berm at this time, providing no further work occurs.
Yep.
Yep.
If he should want to, Dan, I think the basis for any further work would be, it's not in the wetlands. It would be an uplands review, but he's looking for further, the word would be a deterrent from flooding of his property. So that might be a way to approach it. He just wants to put a deterrent in.
It's still, it's simple, Stuart. If he keeps what he's got now on the berm, there's no further action required. If he wants to make other modifications to the berm, he's got to come in and he's got to apply for some kind of approval for the additional work. But we're not going to pursue the work that's already been done regarding the establishment of the initial berm in the upland review area. But if he wants to do more grading work, new grading work in the upland review area, he's going to have to come back in and seek approval ahead of time.
Okay,
Right.
I think that's what he has in mind. I don't know.
We'll
I
see.
don't know. But if somebody, well, anyway, I'll wait till the next meeting. I don't want to
Yeah.
overlap issues with this one. But
Yeah,
that
I
was
think we
all,
should,
that was the only thing on my mind.
okay, good. Anything other administrative?
That's all I've had for you tonight.
Okay. All right, item number 8, citizens' comments. I don't think there's any citizens still hanging around. But I just wanted to let the rest of you know that I've been thinking a lot about this, about what the purpose of citizens' comments is and everything. So going forward in the future, when we get to this section, I'm gonna just announce that this is now a time for when citizens who have sat in on this meeting, if you have any general observations or, questions or comments about what you see tonight at the meeting, now is the time. And I'll give all, citizens the opportunity. I'll give them 3 minutes to stand on their platform. I just want to try to, control a little bit better the meetings that I chair. So that it's not being dominated by any one particular person because they've got an issue going on, et cetera, and if someone does have an issue with a particular application, we can just remind people that we have a public hearing process where, we can call a public hearing, or if so many citizens sign a petition, they can call for a public hearing. And at that time, that's when the public can, and so I'm just going to kind of, refresh people. And at the beginning of meetings, I'm going to probably also state that, that this isn't time for all commission members to ask questions of the applicants and their representatives. So I know I've kind of been lenient in the past when people, like from some of the lake commissions are sitting in and they're like, well, can I say something? And I've been allowing it, but I'm thinking, now I'm going to tighten those procedural things a little bit. And I'm going to say, at this time, the public this is an open meeting, the public can come, but this is a time for Wetlands Commission members to be asking the questions and, so forth.
So I would like to make a suggestion when we go to review the bylaws, which sets the agenda,
Yep.
that we add, prior to pending applications, but after action on previous meeting minutes, citizens comment section, so that you have citizens comments coming in before you talk about an application. And then you can also have them at the end, like we have, so that people can comment on what actions that were taken. They do this in Thompson Planning and Zoning Commission and the Inland Wetlands Commission, and it's worked out well. And usually the chairs advise when they get to that section of the agenda for citizens' comments, they say that they will give them 3 minutes. I think it's 3 minutes. It's either 3 or 5 minutes for any comments on the agenda items. And then, so that way the commission hears people's concerns before an issue is discussed, and they have an opportunity to say something after it was discussed, but they're very limited in the time. So I'm going to make that recommendation for a change in February to the bylaws.
Thank you. Good, Marla. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you.
I think it's a good idea that you put more attention to the Robert's Rules of Order. I think that'll help. So that's a good idea.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Item number 9, adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Seconded by Stuart Peasley.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts. Thank you. Seconded by Stuart Peasley to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, so moved at 8:55 p.m. Yay. We're
Thank you,
done before
Dottie.
9.
Thank you, Dottie. Thank you, Jay.
Oh,
Thank
it was
you.
very good to be able to, I think, put a lot of this on the table. Thank you.
Bye.
Yep, you're welcome. Bye.
Good
Have a
night.
good one, everybody.
Good night. And Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.